Welcome to the TMC podcast. I'm Rod.
And I'm Jenny.
And this is episode number 51. Today is the first day we're recording video, so hello to the people watching. Today's podcast is around acceptance. We had a really good conversation this morning around acceptance. So accepting where you're currently at in your training, developing some sort of plan to move forward with it.
That's it. Yeah. And not just training, but we are going to talk specifically about training today. But if for any part of your life, accepting where you currently are at is the only way that you can then create a plan to move forward. Because if you have a funny idea about where you're at and you're not really at there, the plan that you create might not work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so then let's bring it to movement first, and then we can talk about life situations as well. So in the movement practice, I know you've said this a bunch of times, where some people might think that they're at a level that they're not at.
Yeah.
So it's maybe beginners or intermediate.
It can be anyone.
Anyone, yep. And if you feel like you're too far progressed than what your body is actually capable of, you are doing the progressions that are not suited to your level, your body, you might get that stagnation that we spoke about last week, and you might not be progressing because you're not doing the right things to progress you from the level that you're currently at.
Yeah, and then the other side of it as well, if you think that you're way more beginner than what you actually are, just say you're like, you know, I'm not really strong enough to try that next progression yet. I'm just going to keep sticking to what I'm doing and eventually I'll be strong enough to move on. Then you just keep doing the beginner progressions and you'll never take that next step forward, so you can't actually progress properly.
And do you think that it's a mindset thing for this?
Oh my God, that is a can of worms.
Yeah.
It can be a mindset thing, or it can also be just not an understanding, like an understanding of your own body and your own capacity, or not having the right people around to like help you to figure out where you're at. Maybe if you're doing, obviously our members at Team C have the right people around them, but potentially you haven't asked the question or something like that. Or if you're doing your own training, if anyone's listening who does their own training and doesn't have teachers around them, you know, you could be doing the incorrect exercise for yourself. You might not realize that there's another progression that you could do that could bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to go. So you have to know where you're at to be able to accept it as well.
So then how do people start to understand where they're at?
There's so many different ways to do it, and it really depends on the individual. But I feel like doing the movement and then asking questions as well. So let's just say like for someone who's more beginner and they've, you know, maybe they've been coming for like 3 to 6 months and they've been working on, let's say their handstand practice, and they have been working on a box handstand and they haven't progressed to the wall handstand because they think that they're not strong enough. But they're already doing like, you know, minute holds and stuff on the box handstand, but they just haven't progressed to the next bit. Maybe a teacher will see them in class and say, hey, you've been on the box progression for a while. Did you want to move to the wall? Or maybe them just knowing, I've really been doing this box progression for a really long time. I wonder what the next thing is and I wonder if I'm ready for it. So then it's a matter of going to the teacher and asking, or just giving it a go, just giving the next progression a go.
That's why I think having teachers and community around you is really important, because you can have these kind of blind spots, or you can get caught in your own little traps where you feel like you are too far progressed, or you're not progressing fast enough, or you're not pushing yourself. Like we always say this, that there's some people that need to be pulled back and some people that need to be pushed. So if you don't have those people around you in that community, then you might not know, and you might not know when to progress and when to hold yourself back. So it's really important that you have those teachers and those people around you that can actually give some sort of feedback from an outside perspective, because we get it stuck in our own little world sometimes and we don't see clearly because we're blinded by a whole bunch of our own stuff.
Yeah, and it is only really by moving as well that you can develop that understanding in yourself. And I want to say that because there's something that happens sometimes when people just say like you have a goal in mind, and then you are like, you really want the goal, but then you're afraid of not being able to achieve that goal. So then maybe you won't practice and you don't actually know where you are. So in that phase, you can't actually accept where you are because you don't know where you are. So then you can't create the plan to move forward.
Yeah, and so where does the acceptance come into it? So you understand where you stand. So you do the movement, you practice, or you put yourself in a situation where you are doing the thing, and then you get an understanding of where you're at.
Yep.
And then where does the acceptance come? You need to accept
You
that
need to accept where
this
you
is
are.
where you are
Yep.
to then move forward.
Yep. So as a beginner, oh, actually, I am strong enough and I can try the next progression. Or, oh, actually, I'm not strong enough for this, or I'm not ready for this and I need to step back a progression so that I can then create the right steps to move forward.
Yeah. And it's like that new information is going to give you guidance on the next step to take, the next action.
And it seems really simple when you talk about it, but the conversation Rod and I were having this morning was about me returning to a movement practice since giving birth to Logan, and some of the complications that have come up for me have been me feeling really angry about the position that I was in after having Logan, with my body and emotionally, and losing so much strength and losing skills, and just feeling really sad about that and kind of grieving the loss of where I was at. And because I've been so upset about it, I, like, instead of just accepting, oh, this is where I'm at and now I need to just keep building, I would just not really practice as much because I didn't want to accept where I was. And then because I wasn't practicing as much and because I was so angry about it, I didn't want to even create a plan to move forward from where I am, which sounds crazy, but this is one of the things that can come up, and it can come up not just with, pregnancy, it can come up with anything that happens in your life. Maybe you just get an injury, and then before the injury you could do, 3 muscle ups in a row, and then you injure your shoulder, and then, you can't train that skill anymore. And so you just don't train it anymore because, whatever reason, or you don't want to just take the steps back because you're like, oh, but I used to be able to do full muscle ups. Yep. So you don't go back to the baby muscle up. You just don't train muscle ups at all because...
Oh, it's like an avoidance.
Yeah.
It's because you don't want to experience that feeling of not being
able to do it. Yeah.
In comparison to where you were.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I've experienced that a lot with injuries. We spoke about this a little bit this morning. I've had a few injuries that have really just put a stop to my practice. And it was interesting when I tell people that I have these injuries that they're kind of unsure that I have them. They're like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah, definitely sure that I've really injured my shoulder. I've been working on it for the last 3 years and had to really regress to from freestanding 8 reps freestanding handstand push-ups to not even being able to do a push-up on the wall at one stage." And instead of avoiding it and not doing handstand push-ups anymore, for sure there was a part of me that was really upset and sad that I couldn't do the things that I used to do. But I know that through practice that I can build that strength back up, and if I apply myself, I can build it. But I won't build it if I run away. I need to be in it, find the progression that's suitable for me. And that was the wall. I was moving through, trying to get my shoulder moving again without pain. Even sleeping was so painful for months and months and months. And it's been about 3 years now. And I was chatting with Damo yesterday, actually. We're just having some conversations, and he's given me some stuff to work on to get my muscle. I can do a muscle up now, but it's very painful, and I kind of skip through that transition to go nice and fast. So I move over the painful piece, but I haven't been able to do a ring roll for the last 3 years. And that's what I said to you this morning. You said, "Oh, are you sure?" Because I feel like I put myself in those situations and I just keep moving. I just keep doing things, and I pivot and I do other things as well that kind of give me that same sensation, because we're all practicing movement, or maybe it's running for you, or CrossFit or yoga. Something that you do with inside your body gives you this feeling. And when you do get injured or you're unable to do the things that you used to do, you can still find that sensation or that feeling that you got from that thing that you were doing before that you can't do now. You can still find that in other things. And I think I'm really good at that. I'm finding these little things that I can do that bring joy into my life, that cultivate this kind of motivation and enthusiasm for movement in my life. And that just kind of it's like a snowball effect. I do a little bit over here and, oh yeah, that feels good. Even though it's not the muscle up, that feels good to just, do this thing, crawl around on the ground, whatever it is. And then that leads to me doing something else, and then something else completely different. And then all of a sudden I'm doing all these different things that are accumulating and showing my body and showing my mind that actually I am strong enough. And that mindset leading into rehabilitation of that injury, I think, is a faster track to get back to where you were if you have that kind of attitude.
Yeah, definitely. But one thing that I did say when we were having that conversation this morning was that people only see what you can do by looking at what you're doing on social media, because you're not doing classes. So people who are saying, "Oh, I didn't realize that you couldn't do a ring roll." If you're in a class where everyone was doing ring rolls and they saw that you were avoiding ring rolls, they'd be like, "Oh," because in a class where we're doing skipping, if you ever see me in a class and we're doing skipping, I have a pretty weak pelvic floor at the moment, and I'm not able to skip at certain times of my cycle, especially. So you'll probably see that I'm not skipping, and then people will be like, "Oh, Jenny's not able to skip. There must be something going on with her. So it's might be as well like a bit of a like what are they seeing?
Yeah, that's
and what
right.
are they not seeing?
Yeah, because I do most of my training by myself, and then in like smaller groups. And I try to do a few classes where I can, but obviously schedule's pretty hectic.
Yeah.
But when I am in that setting, or when I do have coaches, so I've got a few coaches teaching me a few different things. I remember during that stage, I was doing some fighting monkey practice, and it was an online course, and there were certain things that I just couldn't do. But I wasn't exposed to other people and had to tell them that I couldn't. I just modify it, and I just find a way around it. It's like, cool. This is for the people watching the video, one of the ones was like swinging the arm up over the head, and it was really painful to do that. So my motion was kind of like just halve the motion, or keep my arm bent, and that actually felt okay.
Yeah.
So it's like modifying things and just I think voicing it as well, like talking to your peers, talking to the people in the community and the coaches, and just letting them know that, hey, I've got this injury, or I'm just coming back from pregnancy, I've got this, I've got that. And for the coaches and everyone else to accept it as well, to be like, cool, yeah, they used to do that. There's no judgment. Let's help them. Let's support them build back to where they were, or even not back to, because we spoke about this as well. It's like, we don't need to go back to where we were, especially for you, after having Logan. Your body's changed completely, and you might not get back to where you were, but you've changed and evolved into something different. So I think maybe that's not the best orientation to always look back at the past and say, I want to be back. Fergo was talking about it the other day, and we spoke to him. We said, hey, he's 52 now and an absolute beast. Shout out Fergo. Can do front levers and bar muscle ups and all this stuff. And he's just such a powerhouse. And we said, when was your peak? And he was saying, when I was 25. So I don't think it would be helpful for Fergo to always be reminiscing and thinking, I want to get back to, how I was at 25. I don't think that's helpful either.
Yeah.
So it's some sort of acceptance of that was the past, that's where I was, my body's changed, and our practice can change as we grow older, or as we kind of move through life and have all these things pop up.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And we were having a chat with Livia this morning as well, and she was talking about, she used to be able to do multiple chin-ups.
Before something, she went away on a trip or something like that. Now she can do one, and she wants to build them back up. And we gave her some advice around that, and it's just about increasing volume. Yep. Doing 1 to 2 classes per week, and then maybe there's some extra things on the side that she can do. Just having a look at the total volume of chin-ups that you're doing each week. You mentioned it as well, this accumulation. I think that is a really good way to build strength, or any skill really, to look at the week or a period of time. A week's normally pretty good to see how many reps are you doing of that skill inside the week, and can you tick away at it. That push-up challenge, I think, is a really good example of that, where you do a few reps, like you do 100 and then do 150. It's quite high volume.
It's terrible.
So maybe it's not
terrible.
Maybe
it's terrible.
Maybe it's not that high, but maybe it's more like 10. You do 10 reps of, it's like a sissy squat. It's like sissy squats don't feel good for you, but can you do them, during your work day, and or just before the gym, and over the course of the week, if you do 10 in the morning, 10 at night, you end up doing probably end up doing hundreds of reps of these things if you can sporadically do it throughout the day. So it's a good way to build strength and skills.
Yeah. Sorry. And I just wanted to thank you. I just wanted to mention, because we are kind of talking pretty matter of fact about, you just have to figure out where you're at. You need to accept it. You need to build a plan to move forward so you can move forward. But sometimes it's not that easy. And I want to talk about this because this is what the conversation and Rod and I were having this morning, and it was around pregnancy. And for me, not true for everyone, because some people just really glide through pregnancy and postpartum, and they just I don't know, some people just do it so effortlessly, which...
How do you feel about those people?
Racks my brain. No, it's awesome.
Yes, good.
It's so awesome. I'm so stoked that someone can make pregnancy and postpartum look really easy, because for me, it's hard, and it still is hard. And I was saying this morning, Logan's 2.5 years old, and I still feel part of me still feels really angry about the situation that I was left with my body. I'm still building my body back, and I'm still recovering, and I'm still ticking away, trying to come back to, maybe I shouldn't be thinking about where I was, but there's a part of me that still wants to get back to where I was. And so for me, I would love to just, I'm really trying to take the steps forward. In the past couple of weeks, I have been creating this awesome plan. I got my front cartwheel back. My pull-ups have been going really well. I'm back on the training bandwagon. I'm having so much fun. But then there's still this part of me that hasn't actually, I guess it hasn't accepted or moved on from like the grief process of losing that. And so it's not as easy as just accepting where you are for some people and then creating a plan to move forward, because sometimes that acceptance piece is really difficult, like to just accept, okay, this is where I'm at now. It can feel a little bit tricky, and it definitely has for me. And so for me, it's more, instead of like just saying that I've accepted and taking the steps to move forward, I really need to go back, and I think that there's some like emotional and spiritual healing that has to happen. And I need to find out what those steps are. What I was saying this morning to Rod was, I know it's a little bit off topic, but we're still talking about the same thing, was I feel like, if someone's an alcoholic, they have alcoholism, there's, these steps that they can take to move forward so that they can resolve, their habit, and it's emotional and it's physical, and there's like really set out ways to get through it. Whereas at the end of pregnancy, there's really not. It's such a crazy, what's the word? Like moving from not being a mum to being a mum, and the pregnancy and the birth and the postpartum in between shift. It's this huge, big shift. You become a completely different person, and like the steps that each woman needs to take to re-find herself and to come back to someone that she feels comfortable with is like such a huge thing. I feel like there needs to be like some really solid steps and advice to move you forward. There is with like certain parts of it. So, you can go and see a pelvic floor physio like Katie, and that's really good for just like healing your pelvic floor and learning how to use your pelvic floor again and strengthening it. But in terms of like the emotional healing stuff, maybe there is someone out there I don't know about. So
sure, there is.
Definitely like send me a message if you know who that person is that can help me out. But in the meantime, I've created a couple of ideas for myself to kind of get started on that emotional stuff. And I just wanted to mention that because I don't want it to sound like, oh, it's so simple. Just find out where you are, accept it and move on. If you're feeling stuck there, then it's okay because, lots of people feel stuck there.
Yep. Because we're made up of more than just our mind. And if we try to just change our mindset, and for some people that's okay and it can work, and you can use discipline and just be like, cool, I'm going to do this. But that might be a piece missing. So it's like you're doing the things, and I think this is what you were saying this morning, that you're seemingly doing all the right things, like you're progressing in your movement practice, you've got the right mindset towards it, but then there's something still missing, and it's the emotional and potentially spiritual layer there that needs to be looked at. And I think that's the same as sorry. I think it's sorry.
We're so well at the moment. Aren't we so healthy?
Oh, okay. And I don't even know what I was going to say.
Well, it would be the same as if someone came in, just say someone came in and they had an injured shoulder. Oh, sorry, you go if you remember what it was.
It was something around, it's not that simple to be like, cool, I'm just going to flick a switch in your mind and then everything's going to be okay. You might have all these beliefs and stories around the certain behaviors that you have around your movement practice. So if you're one of those people that are new and maybe you're a little bit shy or a little bit anxious, there's a part of you that's shy or anxious, and you don't feel like you're pushing yourself hard enough to make progress, then it might not be just flick the switch and then it's all good. You might need to chat, and this is why the community is important, the coaches, and there's people available that we can, chat with and work on these things, work on these different areas other than just like, changing a mindset, which is a big part of it as well.
100%. And like for another example, someone who comes in and they've had a sore back for their whole life, basically. It's like ever since they started working in an office, they've had a sore neck and back. And maybe they've got this belief in their head that, oh, my body's broken or my back is broken and, my back is weak. And then they'll come in and they'll start training, but maybe that belief will hold them back from actually progressing because then they're not really trying because they're afraid that they're going to hurt their back again. So the emotional stuff, like you say, you can shift forward with all of the, the mind stuff, but if the emotional stuff isn't there, then it's going to be really hard. You've got to, like really be able to accept it, not accept it, but I'm still angry about it, or accept it, but I've got this belief that's still holding me back. Oh my God, what a rabbit hole, hey?
Still angry at me because I didn't go through it. We spoke about that.
We spoke about that. There's like not anger, resentment. There's a level of resentment from me towards Rod that he got to just like continue on with his practice, and he hasn't had to build back up again. And
I apologized.
And it sucks that I feel like that because it's actually not your fault. But there's a part of me that just wants to be a little bit upset by that.
Yeah, and that could apply for other people that get injured and they see other people in the gym still doing the things that they used to do. So that resentment could come in. So it's a bit of a rabbit hole.
Yeah. I don't know if I felt it.
Can of worms.
Because I definitely saw a lot of people in the gym being able to continue their practice, and that did feel hard. There wasn't resentment there, but it was hard definitely for me teaching classes towards the end of my pregnancy and seeing people go past where I was and knowing that if I was able to continue, I would have been where they were. That was kind of hard to see, but I don't know, the resentment's a little bit different with a partner who's gone through it, like bringing a baby into the world.
I try to look at it as inspiration when I see people that are progressing and really doing the work. There's certain people with inside like flow practice and stuff like that. I dabble in a lot of things, so I don't really excel super fast in any one area, which is a choice. Like I really want to be good at a lot of things, but I see other people just focus on one thing and they just go through the roof over a period of time, like months and years. I'm like, whoa. Yeah. And there's a part of me that, kind of resents that or resents them, but I try to look at it through the lens of inspiration, and I'm like, cool, like celebration and inspiration. Yeah, I think that's a healthier way to look at it. That they've done the work, they really deserve it. Celebrate them and use it as inspiration for you to cultivate energy to do the same.
I definitely feel like that now. I definitely just feel so excited when I see people in the gym doing stuff that I can't do. I'm just like, that is
nice.
Oh my God. Like Sophia in the gym the other day doing her 2-minute, 20-second handstand. I was like, I felt actually quite emotional about it. Not because of what we're talking about, but just like for her, it's like 2 minutes, like that is just insane. Like it's so crazy. There are so few people in the world that can do handstands for that long. So like even just 1 minute is a milestone. Like 2 minutes is huge. 2 minutes, more than 2 minutes. I just think, yeah, it's crazy.
Do you want to do over 2 minutes at some stage?
Well, I'm heading for 90 seconds still at the moment. I've got 126 is my highest. So
highest ever.
Highest ever. Oh no, but like that's after pregnancy.
Yep.
I didn't do higher than that before pregnancy.
After pregnancy.
Yeah.
Pregnancy helped with handstands.
Oh my God.
What?
Don't even.
That's awesome.
Don't even. No, the question is that I don't like to ask, where would I be if there was no pregnancy?
Don't ask that question.
Well, I wouldn't have Logie.
You're looking in the past. Let's stay present.
So no, I get really excited, but I think that during pregnancy and postpartum, like women's hormones are like they're so crazy, so it is even harder to deal with those sorts of emotions because the hormones are just wrecked. Yeah.
We are over 20 minutes. We're gonna wrap it up. That was a good one. Shout outs. Let's quickly do some shout outs. I just want to shout out Zofia, not Sophia, Zofia. I think she's been in classes for like a few weeks, and I did a game plan session with her the other day, and she's just switched on. Like she's got it happening. She is all over it, super strong, super mobile, and I'm really keen to see her progress over the coming months and years with her movement practice. She's also a free diver, and she can, the whole length of TMC, she can dive down like 45 meters or something like that. Isn't that wild?
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I was very impressed with that.
Yeah, and I said, we need to get her talking to Rosie because Rosie does that stuff too. And Rod's like, pretty sure they know each other.
A small community, I think.
And I already did my shout out, but I'm just going to say again, yes, Sophia, not Zofia.
This is confusing.
Sophia Van Mills, is it?
2 minutes 20.
2 minutes, 20 seconds.
Coming
as I said,
for my record.
I can't even fathom that. Like I struggle so much even just to get that, even a minute 20 and she's doing a whole extra minute above me. It's insane.
So good.
So good.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. We will see you soon.
Bye.